We are back with another episode of Long Island Changemakers with your boy, the one and only, the kid, Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector. This program is a great opportunity for me to highlight important work done by important leaders here on Long Island. Sometimes we're going to have people from the nonprofit sector, sometimes we're going to have people from the business sector, and often we're going to have conversations around how business people connect with philanthropy and the work they're doing in community. And today is a perfect example of that. My friend, longtime friend, many years, Bert Lurch. We met through a nonprofit here on Long Island a long time ago. We've done some business together. We've done some networking together. I'm glad to have you. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here, man.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure.
It's good, man. We're going to have some fun. I really want to have you tell your story. I know I've always loved the story you tell about your business, where you and Lewis came together, all these years ago, not too far from where we're seated right here in, the Lake Success, Manhasset area. So I thought we'd talk about your business, the success you've had, and then something that, we've talked about recently, just the importance you've put on philanthropy, community-based organizations and things like that. So wherever you want to start, I just want you to tell your story today, Bert.
My story, just a guy, I like to say like LeBron James, he says a kid from Akron.
Sure.
So I'm a guy from Queens, just trying to figure out my way going into college. I was thinking about getting into healthcare, and I was looking to go into physical therapy. And while I was taking courses in college, I got a part-time job at Northwell. It wasn't Northwell then.
Sure.
Right? It was just Long Island.
It was like LIJ, right?
It was right here, LIJ.
Sure.
Now the big Northwell, which is a good thing. Some people have their other thoughts about
Sure.
it. But anyway, I was going to school for physical therapy, and I realized this science is kicking my butt.
Okay.
Man. So I was like, I need to look into something different, really go where my skills were. My skills were more around business, entrepreneurship, and I wanted to see things grow. So I traded in the concept of the lab coat for the suit.
I like that.
Yeah. Even though I'm not in my suit now.
That's, what, man, suits are, that's an old thing, man.
Where's ties anymore?
I used to wear a tie. I mean, my old logo for Philanthropy and Focus, the other thing I do with the nonprofits is like me wearing a red necktie, man. I haven't worn a tie in like 3 years, and I love that.
Funny. That's so funny. But yeah, so, I pivoted and went towards the business side of medicine. My business partner, Louis Burke, who actually since just recently passed away unexpectedly, and that's a whole nother story relate around healthcare. But we started this business because we met each other in the hospital, and when I pivoted towards the business side of medicine, we got together and took some billing classes, and we were like, what is the most we could do with this? Mm-hmm. And the teacher at that time said, listen, you could start your own billing company. And we looked at each other and said, you know what, let's do that, because I wasn't considering, moving up in the hospital at that time, because I was still fairly young. Mm-hmm. And managing my peers wasn't top of mind.
Right.
So the entrepreneurship route was our angle. And we literally started out, getting that first tax. I never forget getting the tax ID number.
Sure.
It was like I was shaking when I called like New York State and they gave me the number of the phone. I was working in the hospital. I should have been doing that at the same time. But, getting that tax ID number was so energetic for me. Because
why is that? Like, what was that for you? Why was that such a big deal?
Interesting. It was such a big deal because that to me signified this is the beginning of something new. You have an identity that you can now build on. And that's what that tax ID, because it had a name associated with it.
It's not just you as an individual, it's an entity now, that the business.
Right. Yeah. Right. So technically it was a partnership when we started with that. So we started with this partnership, we had this tax ID, and we just went from there and started this company. So started the business. I was still working in the hospital part-time, finishing out at school, and then I was doing a little part-time medical billing work for a doctor in the community. And that's what we got into, medical billing. That's the simple term of it. But now it's turned into what's called revenue cycle management, which basically is making sure medical providers are paid, making sure they're compliant, and we consult with them. So that's kind of how I started. And fast forwarding over years, We started out in the house, so we were like a home-based business.
Sure.
And we grew slow and steady. And then now we're right across the street from this location, in it's New Hyde Park.
It's New Hyde Park there.
Hyde Park.
Yep.
But we have about a good 40, 50 folks here in this office, and then we have another 60 or 70 remote and close to 100 offshore.
So you have almost 100 employees here in the States and another 100.
Yes.
So knowing you like I as I do for many years, I got to imagine you take that very seriously. Those are hundreds of families that are counting on this company. I remember, my brother used to have several hundred employees, and he would always tell me, these are families. Like, these people work with me, for me, but he goes, I got to focus on making sure we're sustainable. That I imagine that's something you take real seriously.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Sure.
So when I'm, I think about the families in my organization, and I also think about my clients, their families. They have to put their kids through college. They have to pay their mortgages. So we every day I'm working late hours, I'm thinking about all of that because to a certain degree, they depend on me.
Sure.
So that's a lot of pressure that entrepreneurs will have, but you're built for it. People who do this, they're built for it.
Yeah. Well, I think like from knowing entrepreneurs and having some of that spirit myself, it's, I think the word in French means to take chances, or somebody who takes some chances. I think we take chances, but as much as you can, because there's so much riding on it, you try to make educated guesses and educated chances that you're taking. Would you say that?
Oh, definitely. But, you have to take those educated chances, you either have to educate yourself, right? And or some experience helps you along the way. So definitely in the early times, there was a lot of challenges there. Didn't have much guidance when we started out. So a lot of trial and error. But definitely the concept is to, go to the path of least resistance.
Sure.
Right? So I try to do that.
When you talk about like didn't have maybe a lot of people looking out for you or mentors and things, and I know over the years, that certainly changed because I've heard you refer to things like that. When was it when you sort of connected with people who are like ahead of you in business, or, folks you can kind of count on? I think, it's critically important, I think, for young people to connect with people who have gone down these paths. And look, man, with things the way they are now, you can go to YouTube, you can connect with people. It's like, it's different. You can really get out and build relationships. And sometimes you only have to because there's so much video stuff. I love YouTube. There's so much on YouTube. There's so much you can learn from. But, when you and Lewis were building the business, were there people who you did tap into that were able to either make connections or just say, hey, guys, look at it this way, or let me help you out, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the connections have been critical in my success. Mentorship has been critical in my success. It happened when I moved my office closer to where we're at now, and I met a few key people who, when I was setting up the office, would say, hey, it's nice to meet you. I see you have something going on there. They almost felt like they saw something in me, and they were like, you should join this organization. You should meet this person.
Right. And
I did it. I thought that, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You learn from people who are doing things well. So some of these people who I thought were doing well, I said, okay, I will listen to what you're saying and let me go check out this organization. And the organization that we met in, I met some very key people who really saw me as someone to say, what, we're going to pour into you because you're a young guy coming up. You're here in this room with us, and we're going to pour into you. And that was my first experience of being a part of an organization and joining a board, and then ultimately becoming the president of that organization. I was able to learn from individuals there who have become my mentor. Yeah. So that has been critical, which is one of the reasons why I now mentor and a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island and other organizations to give back to the community and try to shorten that time frame, right? Because it took us a long time, took me a very long time to get to this point. Slow and steady wins the race,
right?
But how do you speed that up? And that mentorship was a big part of it because people genuinely want to help.
Yeah, I like that, and I think it's the mentorship, I think leans into or leads into what the connection with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island. So I don't even know how you got connected to the organization there, but that is a mentoring program where the bigs, you know, whether they be male or female, are looking out for the littles, and you know, they spend some time together. And I know, shout out to Meredith Michaels and the folks and Mark Cox and the team over there at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island, because I know what they're always looking for is male mentors. It sounds like there's a lot of young boys that are looking for a mentor, and that seems like they never have enough of that. So we could talk maybe about that too. But what drew you to that? How did you even get connected to that organization?
So I was meeting with a gentleman named Don Levine. Don Levine, very important person in my journey as far as educating me on things on Long Island, how Long Island is set up, how to maneuver in Long Island, and also the business in Long Island. We had a lot of good conversations about that. And in one of our conversations, he told me about what Big Brothers was doing, because Big Brothers, majority of the littles are minority kids. And they have always been trying to be more connected to these kids and try to have more bigs that are minorities as well. We definitely want to service these kids on Long Island as best as possible.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter what color you are. If we're backlogged, we're going to do it.
Right.
But there's no question that if we could have someone that looks and sound like them, it can be an even better connection. And we struggled a lot with that. So I got involved with Big Brothers here on Long Island to see if I could help with that from the top down. So I'm actually a board member of the organization.
Is that how you got involved, by joining the board, or did you volunteer?
Well, there's a process.
Yeah.
I was brought to an event, and then once I came to the event,
Sure.
the mission spoke to me. So I'm glad you asked me that, because of the position that I've been in business. A lot of organizations, a lot of people have reached out to me to be involved with them for reasons, good reasons, and some just because I'm a successful African American.
Right. Okay.
And I think that I've had to vet that out to a certain degree. So with Big Brothers, their mission was a mission that I believed in, right? They are mentoring young kids on the island. They're making the community a better community. When I went to the first event, they did a video and they showed how impactful these bigs were to these littles. And for me, it just worked my inside.
Yeah.
So at that point, I said, I want to be a part of this organization. And then it was called President's Council. So it was just like a council of people to help the organization make decisions, give input, feedback. And then from there, I moved on to the board.
How has that experience with that particular organization impacted you? I mean, you're a dad, you have your own children, right? Did you look at this as an opportunity where you could be a big at some point, or did you look at it as like you want to bring other people that are connected in your network to the organization? Like, how's it impacted your life?
So as far as a big, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my time is extremely limited. Excuse me. And but the organization is well ran.
Yeah.
The board is well ran. So it was a give take there. When you are part of a not for profit that has a strong board, there's also I want to say networking piece of that, that you're connected to other people that have really strong skills in certain areas. So you're pulling your skills together to help this organization, what we do. But then at the same time, you are tapping into this board for things that you may need some help with. So the value there with Big Brothers is the board and how it's ran is top notch, in my opinion. So I was able to provide some assistance to that and also learn a bit about what we've created to help in my own organization. But these are the things I had no idea about until I started getting involved with organizations on a board level. So it's been an incredible experience. Then you take just what we're doing. You're talking about you should see these kids, their faces, the parents of these littles. It is really life-changing stories that the organization is doing. So that is something that, you know, has done well with me and my kids. And we just recently did going out giving presents from big brothers to the littles, and me and my daughter went through in the community to give out presents to a few families. That's something that my daughter will never forget, and she will obviously continue to do some type of community service as her life continues on.
I love that. And you know, you've seen some of the stuff I've done in the community, and you know, with the 60 days of service and over the years and stuff.
Which is amazing.
It's awesome, and I appreciate it. And to me, it's like, I gotta let you know a secret. I do it selfishly because it's a lot of fun, and I feel good when I do it. You know, I mean, I know it's
and that's right. That's okay though.
Yeah, and I appreciate the gratitude, and I get it. Though. Yeah, it's important. And what I was just going to bring up is, you know, we ran into each other because we both, your company ECM, and me, Philanthropy and Focus, Tommy D, whatever, that this entity, like we sponsored something with the Rotary, the Gold Coast Rotary. Yes. And it was I was able to, one year, I think both my sons might have come through, and then this past year it was just my younger son, and you know, he's 9, and you know, you and I have been at these events where it's the bag packing of the food, and it's just, you know, my younger son says to me, when are we doing the next day of service? Yeah. Like, that's it, man. That's it. Like, the fact that you say your daughter's like now plugged in, and you think you expect her to go out and do this stuff because she's into it. Changing the world, man. Bert, like, that's it.
It's gotten to a point for me that I feel that success is one thing, and let's be clear on that. I tell people this all the time. No one can define your success. You define your own success. Some people think it's money. Some people think it's longevity. Some people, it is whatever it is to you. We could probably have a conversation about that because that's an entrepreneurial struggle sometimes. Did I make it? Did I not? And I definitely went through it. But a piece of success for me to define success is, if I don't give back to the community, I feel like there's no success there.
No, I'm with you on that.
Which means supporting organizations that take care of our people. And when I talk about our people, I'm talking about the community of Long Island. I'm talking about people of color. I'm talking about Caribbean people. I'm talking about people in healthcare.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta
right.
Yeah.
And I love you for that. I do. And that's one of the things that look, I know plenty of business people. We know plenty of business people, and not every business person is thinking. Now, many business people are thinking about philanthropy and getting involved, but some people are not, right? And I wonder if those people can ever really be fulfilled and maybe they equate success to having 7 cars and 6 houses or whatever that all is about, right? And again, we live in a capitalist society. I'm not saying we shouldn't work for these things, right? But what I'm hearing from you is, without that community focus and that give back piece, it ain't nothing. What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
That's really how I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, there's quite a few people who believe in it. There's obviously others who may not. But I think that it's so important that we definitely focus on not-for-profits, because as I learn more and more about it, I've realized there's so many different organizations that do so many great things. I'm part of a group called Long Island Elite. Every year we focus on a not-for-profit where we provide significant money to them to help the community of Long Island. I'm involved with the Viscardi Center, right? Incredible organization, what they do over there. It's something that they help out kids with disabilities and really help them get to the next level. We have to dig in and try to help our community. It just, I don't see how we can't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would just say this, because as you were talking, I was thinking of this. People don't need to go out and recreate and form their own organization. There's so many nonprofits that are on the front lines doing the work. It's a matter of like just plugging in and leaning in and pouring into those organizations, you know? I want to ask you about this piece where you mentioned too, taking care of people in healthcare, you know, thinking about people on the front lines of healthcare, and being that you're so connected to that with profession, what you do. Are there certain ways you've seen opportunities to support that community?
So I see the entry-level healthcare workers, they sometimes have a track towards nursing. So we're talking about nurses, medical office assistants, nursing aides, entry-level billers. That's a little different, more on the business side. But a lot of the people that are going into these entry-level positions in healthcare, a lot of them are struggling, right? So I always thought about how can I help them? What can be done to assist those people? Sometimes it's like just their books, any type of.
So you're talking students you're referring to, maybe like, okay, got it.
Getting them to get into healthcare and assisting them to move forward into their career, I think is something that it is something that speaks to me.
Yeah.
You know, again, and it may be because I come from a family of healthcare.
Right.
My mother worked in Parker Geriatric Jewish Nursing Home, I believe it's called. My father worked in LIJ. My sister is a nurse. My other sister is a nutritionist.
Okay.
So I've seen all of them go from, you know, just trying to make it, busting their back, school, struggling to get to where they are now. So that, it kind of inspires me. And I know there's others that are out there doing it, and some of them just miss it by a little bit. So it's like, how can we assist them? Yeah.
I think that's great. I think there might be an opportunity for you to create something as a legacy maybe, and like we've talked about in the past and different things like that. I wonder, you know, as these students are getting involved and doing different things and finding their way, that mentor, it's something that's coming up for me again, going back to that mentorship. Maybe there's just more opportunities of creating those. And again, much of this might exist already, but it seems like you're seeing opportunity where there's a place to bridge the gap for some of this type of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've been wanting to talk to you more and more about this, because, you know, I work all day.
Yeah.
Grind. That's what entrepreneurs do.
Yep.
So you have to balance that off, and I'm looking to start to balance that more. And again, community is extremely important. There's a lot of organizations that are already doing things, and I think that is the way to go. What I'm looking to do in my organization, we're doing more, giving employees a day of service, right? So that's a big thing. So we started doing that. I also, even with Big Brothers, they just called me to speak in front of some kids at risk.
Okay.
So definitely those opportunities I really look at real seriously now, because again, it's part of who I am, and I'm growing more and more into that. Maybe that's my second career, to be into the philanthropy type of world. Maybe we could work. Maybe we work together.
Well, I would love that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I mean, and especially as it relates. So let me tell you a story. Just yesterday, I was out in Long Island City with an organization called Our Children. Our Children, spelled H-O-U-R, as in the hours, 3 hours. The hour a mom who's incarcerated gets taken away and is put in prison. The hour each week she gets to see her children, and the hour when she's released. And this organization, I had this incredible opportunity because I have this new project. We're going to do like a full day of volunteering at a nonprofit. We're going to turn it into a pretty cool show. And this particular organization, I had the opportunity to meet with some of these women who were formerly incarcerated, are now in the vocational program, they're in the transitional housing program. And there's people whose lives are impacted differently based on just in the community they grew up in, the neighborhood they grew up in, the zip code they grew up in, right? And it takes organizations to look out for these women. I mean, they bring these children up to Bedford, upstate New York, to visit the mom while she's in prison. I mean, to create that relationship and maintain that relationship. It was founded by Sister Tisa Fitzgerald, who is, she's a nun, Order of St. Joseph out on Long Island. And it's organizations like that that are doing the work, that need philanthropy, like you're talking about, that need business professionals to come in and you used the term pour in before, to pour into that organization. There's so much there, Bert, and of course you are, honestly, you are a philanthropist. You know, I'm a philanthropist. We're doing, whether it be time, treasure, talent, whatever it might be, you're pouring into these organizations, making that impact, having conversations like this, saying, your company saying your employees have a volunteer day of service to go out in the community. I mean, that's it, man. That's the stuff.
In my newer company, Onet Systems, we specialize for out-of-network providers and helping them navigate the laws around that. And my partner there is a lawyer. Her name is Laura Lowenstein. And we had this idea about, because we both are gardeners.
Okay.
Right. So that's what. And
I don't even think I knew you were a gardener.
so I'm a gardener.
Okay.
And that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
A guy who listens to hip hop and R&B and is in the backyard with the.
We're all multifaceted, man. We all got different interests.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Most of my friends, they didn't realize until the last couple of years. Now it's cool since the pandemic, but I've been doing this for a very long time.
You got a green thumb, then.
I got a green thumb, but there's a play on entrepreneurship with that because you're growing something from very small into something you can
look at that.
consume, right? So that's that. How do I nurture this seed? And I literally grow.
Wow.
I start from seeds.
You do?
Yeah. So we're talking about growing something from a seed into a full plant to then consume. There's a nurturing process in that. So that's the same thing with entrepreneurship. That's how I feel about it. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So what we discussed is she does the same thing. And it was quite interesting that we both do gardening.
That came up like later on?
Well, because it's springtime and I'm starting to get my seeds ready. And she's like, oh my gosh, Bert, I can't believe you do it. I have a garden in my backyard. Point is, though, we always talked about getting a kind of a community garden.
Yeah.
And wrapping some sort of not-for-profit around that with our employees to have this community garden to grow vegetables to then give out to the community. And it's something we talked about for a few years. So these are the type of conversations we have, and which I'm blessed to have these conversations now. There's money, work, clients, that's always going on, but you want to start to have these other conversations to balance off some of the madness.
You know, anybody who's just focused on business, you know, you have to be, as an entrepreneur, very locked in and, you know, focused on business. But we got to be well-rounded, man. We got to have other interests, you know, whether it be somebody likes cars, somebody likes to go on their boat, somebody likes fishing, somebody likes gardening, because there's got to be a detach from just being like in the chair, in the zone all the time, right? Because you got to just from your own mental health, right?
Extremely important, mental health, and we know since the pandemic it was clear, but yeah, you have to detach. You have to do things that make you feel good. It's not always money. It's what can you do? Physical health, right? It's a big thing.
You like the gym, right?
Yeah. I should like it a little more.
I don't like it at all, man.
I just played football 2 weeks ago, and it was. I had a really.
Would you play a touch or flag or something?
Two-hand touch.
All right,
but
rough. But like you can give.
We're talking about every down. I'm running 10 yards.
Yeah.
You know, and they were like spotting me, and so I had probably like 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I just want to put that.
All right.
I can't believe it at my age. But the point.
Well, who are you playing? Other guys your age? Or are you playing some kids?
Some kids.
Nope.
And
Yeah.
some older guys.
All right.
So that was a little rough.
Yeah.
It plays against the ego too. I'm like, oh man, I can't keep up with this guy doing what I'm doing. But point is, definitely it felt amazing. Working out, running, biking. I bike.
Yeah.
I've done the
like on a station, like Peloton, or
no, I do. I have a hybrid bike,
Yeah.
and I'm not professional, but I borrow bike tour, which is respectable.
All right.
I've done that about 5 times.
No kidding, I didn't know that.
So you know, I try to stay fit as possible. So that's important. And the mental health. We need to turn off what we need to turn off. You know, entrepreneurs always on their phone, always on their computer. I make sure I have time on my phone to not overuse it. And I was just talking to an IT friend of mine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever looked at the amount of time you spend on your phone, not just social media, just in general.
I got to tell you, I had purposely, I don't have my email on my phone.
That's good.
Like by design, right?
Yeah.
So like my laptop is out here in the conference room, whatever.
That's good.
You know, I know I'll get to it, but like if I'm in bed, then it's over. I'm done. I mean, somebody can still text me, but for the most part, client stuff, you're not going to get texted.
I don't look. One thing have done this for years. I don't look at my emails. And some entrepreneur business folks, they might think it's crazy because they're like, first thing you get up, they got to look at the emails and start firing off. There's a concept around that.
Right.
But for me, because I work pretty long hours, I don't want to start my day off anxiety.
Right. No, shut it down when you can shut it down.
Once nighttime hits, no more. I don't look at emails until I get in the office.
So not even so. See, that's great. We're running out of time. So real quick, I appreciate you. We're gonna have to have you back. We should do this once a month just to kind of chop it up. I appreciate you being here, man. Listen, everybody. This show is called Long Island Changemakers. I'm called Tommy D, the one and only the kid. And I just like to say this is another In Focus production. Bert's been with me today. Make it a great day, everybody. Thanks so much. See you later.
Yes.